We are an organization that has been around for 23 years. And during our time, we've been doing presentations on topics of interest and concern to help us become informed citizens, citizens for informed land use above me. Our presentations have varied from the duties and responsibilities of a township administrator. Sharon Roundtree came and spoke with us, to how to be an effective composter when Tom Matulewicz came and spoke to us about composting. On our Facebook page, a community member wrote, "I never vote until I've watched your candidates forum. Thanks for the 2020 Fall Candidate Forum." This activity that we're doing tonight is part of our informed government, which our bylaws, our informed government mission, which our bylaws have stated. The CELU bylaws are to promote informed and thoughtful land use decisions, to preserve our quality of life, to protect our natural resources, and to promote government decision-making based on open communications with an informed electorate and nonpartisan public debate. So that's what we're doing tonight. Now, to that end, also last October, as part of our candidate forum, we informed the community that the Charter Study Commission was on the ballot and 5 candidates were running for that commission. Then in November, Holmdel residents voted to study our current form of government and elected the people to conduct that study for us. They elected a bipartisan group with diverse backgrounds and different political affiliations, which included 3 Republicans, 1 Democrat, and 1 independent. The commissioners were Kin G, Janet Burke, Gerald Buffalino, Zach Gilstein, and Bill Kastning. The commissioners went to work in November 2021. Now, 8 months later, we are here to discuss the results of their work. And on July 26th, we are to vote on their recommendations in a special election. You out there have to decide whether to vote yes to change the government or vote no, do not make a change. Now, the absentee ballots, if you can see them, the absentee ballots have arrived. If you didn't get an absentee ballot yet, you can contact monmouthcountyvotes.com, one word, and follow through with that. And actually at the end of our presentation, Regina will talk to you about how to get an absentee ballot or how to go to the polls and all the voting issues. So make sure you listen when Regina speaks then. We are fortunate to welcome 3 of the Charter Study Commission members here tonight to explain their recommendations and the reasoning behind them. We have with us Deputy Mayor Janet Burke, Jerry Buffalino, and Zach Gilstein. Where is she? Here we are. See, I'm so lucky. Janet Burke, Deputy Mayor Janet Burke, former Deputy Mayor Janet Burke. She is currently co-chair of Holmdel's Green Team and a facilitator for CAP, which is the Child Assault Prevention Project. She was also an active part of the legal team of RAGE, which is Residents Against General Electric, and she is the grandmother of Teddy. Very important. Jerry Buffalino is the current president of Preserve Holmdel, a community group much similar to ours, a member of Holmdel's Finance Advisory Committee, and he served as a member of the Holmdel Zoning Board. And then Zach Gilstein, he is currently chairman of Holmdel's Finance Advisory Committee, member of the Holmdel Planning Board, and member of the Holmdel Environmental Commission. Together, these 3 people represent thousands of hours of work, to volunteer work, to study our form of government and make recommendations for us. We're very fortunate that they're willing to give their time to think about what is best for Holmdel. And I was telling my husband this, and he said, imagine how much it would cost if we had to hire a company to come and consulting company to come and do this research for us. So thank you guys very much for all your commitment of time for us. So the way this is going to work is they are going to present their remarks first. Then all attendees are invited to post questions into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. You can ask as many questions as you want, but don't ask the same question over and over again. I will be asking the questions, and Julie will be double checking that I'm asking them all, that I don't miss any. Of course, I expect the questions to be respectful and intending to elicit information. Statements that don't include a question will not be read. You may start writing the questions at any point, but they won't be asked until the end of the presentation. So without further ado, Mr. Gilstein, why should we want to change our form of government?
Okay. Thanks, Karen. And thanks to CELU for having us here to have the opportunity to explain the process that we went through and the recommendations that we're making. I'm going to share my screen. So hopefully that will work. And we will see that in a moment. Okay. Hopefully you can see my screen. Okay.
Yes, good.
So we're going to go through our recommendations. We're going to start with some background and how we got here, what we did in our process, and then we'll spend most of the time talking about our recommendations and our reasoning behind them. So let's start with what was the charter that we were actually given as a Charter Study Commission. What is the mission? And this is right from the state law. It's the function and duty of the Charter Commission to study the form of government of the municipality, to compare it with other forms under the laws of the state, and to determine whether or not, in its judgment, the government of the municipality could be strengthened, made more clearly responsive or accountable to the people, or whether its operation could be more economical or efficient under a changed form of government. So this is the work that we carried out. And in fact, we came to a recommendation which we believe would strengthen our form of government and make it more clearly responsive and accountable to the people. We didn't believe we weren't doing this for an economic reason. It was really an accountability and a strengthening directive. But we get to make a recommendation. It's not for us to decide whether to move forward. That will be for the citizens of Holmdel. On July 26th, as Karen mentioned, there will be a special election, and the Holmdel residents get to decide whether they want to move forward with the recommendations with a new form of local government that we believe will give more power to the Holmdel residents and make the Township Council more accountable to the residents. So how did we get here? Karen reviewed some of this background, but in November 2021, the residents of Holmdel voted to establish a Charter Study Commission to do the charter that I just outlined. The residents also elected the 5 individuals that Karen went through, and we are a diverse group, and we represent a good cross-section of the political makeup of our township. And after 6 months, we filed a commission. The commission filed a formal report with our findings and recommendations, which I'm going to review. And now it's for Holmdel voters to vote to approve or disapprove these recommendations. So what was the process? So we basically followed the process on the basis of the mission that the state law sets out. It says, start by studying your current form of government. And so that was the first phase of what we did. We studied the Township Committee, the current form of local government. This was completed in January and February. We finished in the middle of February. We interviewed elected officials, collectively officials that served more than 60 years on township committees, including 20 years of mayors. And we talked to our current mayor, a couple of former mayors of Holmdel, as well as several mayors from other townships in Monmouth County who work under the Township Committee form of government. So we had a lot of experienced people who we spoke with. We also interviewed our township administrator, and we invited the local county committee chairs, both the Democratic and Republican committee chairs, to speak with us, since we thought they had a stake in this. And the Democratic County Committee chair did come and speak with us and gave us a lot of information about their process of vetting candidates and how candidates are approved. The Republican committee chair chose not to appear. So what did we find out about the Township Committee form of government? The Township Committee has 5 members. They are elected at large on a staggered basis. as you may be aware, our staggered basis means we have an election every year. We are either electing one or two of our township committee members every year. The elections are held on a partisan basis. Nonpartisan is not an option. The mayor is decided by the township committee, not by the voters, and voted in for a one-year term. So at the reorganization meeting, usually the first meeting in January, the 5 members of the township committee decide who they want to be the mayor. And the township residents really have no say in it. As a township committee, it's basically government by committee. All legislative and executive powers, including staff appointments, are exercised by the committee as a whole. The mayor is a member of the committee, votes along with other members of the committee, but has no special power to veto legislation or execute any special power over the rest of the committee. The mayor is the spokesperson for the township, as well as sets the agenda and keeps things structured and organized. We have a township administrator. The duties are detailed by ordinance that the town passed, I think, around 20 or more years ago. The township administrator runs the day-to-day operations of the township, and if the township committee is unsatisfied with the work of the administrator, they can remove the administrator by a 2/3 vote. Effectively, you would need 4 votes, but you could then remove the administrator. The administrator attends meetings and can participate in discussions, but does not have a vote. There is no initiative. An initiative is allowing citizens or residents to bring forth a question, a proposed law or ordinance, and put it out for a ballot, on the ballot, to be decided by the citizens about whether they would want to do such a thing. And referendum, which is having a ballot question about something that the township committee has proposed, can only be done for capital budget ordinances. But anything else any other actions that the township takes, which the citizens believe are only supported by a minority, are not available, cannot be put forth on the ballot. Okay, then after studying the current township committee form of government, we explored the alternative forms of government. We had presentations by 2 experts, one from the state government and one from Rutgers University, who explained to us the various forms that could be considered under the Faulkner Act, which allows for alternative forms of government. We also heard from an expert on New Jersey's unique ballot design and the county line. This was a professor from Rutgers who explained that New Jersey has a very unique ballot design, unique across the whole country. And the use of the county line, which is where effectively the chairs of the county Republican or Democratic committee can decide who gets to run on the line, which is usually the Democratic line or the Republican line in the primary election, and essentially runs with all of these sort of endorsed people. And then if there are other people who are running against them, they often get put off to column 6 or column 9, sometimes referred to as political Siberia. And it's even hard to tell when you look at the ballot that they're on the ballot. It's a very unique design, and it effectively gives extraordinary power to these 42 county chairs around our state. So this was a very compelling presentation that she gave. We then interviewed elected officials that currently operate under various alternative forms of government in Monmouth County. And the 2 major forms that we actually have to consider are, one is mayor council. We talked to people from Tinton Falls and Marlborough, and mayor council is a strong mayor form of government in which the council makes legislative proposals and changes or legislates policy. The mayor is the chief executive of the town, is not a member of the council, but is responsible for carrying out the wishes of the council and running the town. This is the way it is in Tenton Falls and Marlborough, and we spoke to both of those mayors who work in that form of government. Then the alternative is one called council manager, and we spoke with people from Aberdeen and Ocean Township who work under this form of government. And in this form of government, the mayor is part of the council, much as the mayor is in the Township Committee. So the mayor doesn't have any special veto power or is not the executive of the town. The mayor is part of the council and can set the agenda and represent the town, but has no other special powers. In these various people that we spoke with, we had cases where the mayor was elected directly and others where, while the mayor could be elected directly, they had chosen to continue to let the mayor be elected by the council. And we had examples here where elections were held on a partisan basis and also where elections were held on a nonpartisan basis. So as part of exploring the alternatives, we really got a good cross-section of all the different alternatives that were used and got a lot of input. And then we also had public input. We had 2 purposefully public hearings dedicated to receiving public input. On February 3rd, roughly at the end of phase 1, we had people effectively from people from Holmdel who wanted to speak and comment on our current form of government and alternatives that might be considered. So we had a lot of input there. And then on April 7th, at the end of phase 2, we had another public hearing where we heard from many people speaking about these alternatives and what they liked and what they didn't like. I would say collectively we had over 30 different people who spoke at these 2 hearings, and we got a lot of good input. Just to quickly summarize, a lot of people spoke up that they wanted to be able to elect the mayor directly. In general, people, or almost exclusively, people did not want a strong mayor who would have veto power and be like the chief executive of the town and have this separation between the mayor and the council. People generally wanted to have nonpartisan elections, and I'd say almost everyone who spoke on that point wanted nonpartisan elections. We did have a couple members of the public who spoke up for partisan elections. In addition to the 2 hearings that were dedicated to public hearings, we did have a public comment period at the end of each of our meetings before we went into deliberation on the recommendations. So throughout phase 1 and phase 2, at the end of the meeting, we opened it up for public comment, and we did get a number of people who would come and make comments. Okay, then we got to phase 3. Phase 3, which was where we got to deliberate and discuss what kind of recommendations we would like to make. And so now I will share with you what recommendations have we come forward with. Okay, so we recommended that we move to a council manager form of government, that the council would have 5 members. They would be elected at large. Elected at large means they represent the whole town. There is an alternative where if you wanted to, you could elect them by what's called wards, and we could divide the town into districts and have representatives from the various districts. But we didn't think that made sense for a town of our size. And in fact, most people who spoke about that question said they didn't think that that would be good. We did have a couple of people who thought it was good, that maybe there's some differences between the north side of town and the south side of town. But I think most people agreed that it might be divisive. And so our recommendation is that we continue to elect our council members at large. We do recommend that we elect the mayor directly. I would say almost uniformly, the public spoke up that they wanted to be able to elect the mayor directly, that they thought that they should be able to hold somebody accountable and they should know that they elected that person, and it shouldn't be done just by the council or committee. We recommend that we hold elections on a staggered basis every 2 years. With these new forms of government, the terms are 4 years. And so people are elected 4 years. And if you stagger, then you're not changing out the whole committee at the same time. One of the other comments we got from the public, from several members of the public, is that it's just ridiculous that we clutter the town with campaign signs every year. And it happens in the primary season and then during the general election. And that if we move to having elections only every 2 years, it would be a big step forward. We should hold nonpartisan elections in November. And I'm going to speak about this in a few minutes. And we recommend that we not have runoff elections, that if there are multiple people running, whoever the highest vote getters are the ones who should be elected. So now let me talk about how we came to this recommendation. So first, why did we choose council manager? First and foremost, council manager very closely aligns to our current township committee with 5 council members. The mayor is part of the council with no special powers, as we have in our current township committee. We think that's a good structure, and that certainly aligns to the input we got from the public. It also provides for a business manager, which is very similar to the current township administrator, to manage the day-to-day operations of the town. Much like our township administrator, the business manager attends meetings but does not vote. In the council manager form of government, you could actually remove the business manager with a simple majority vote. So if you hired somebody and you were dissatisfied with their work, you could actually remove them with 3 votes rather than 4. And then it also provides several options that we believe make the government more responsive and accountable to the people. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the whole charter and the point was to decide whether in our judgment, the government could be made more responsive and accountable to the people. And so we believe these several options do just that. So what are these 3 important new features? 1, the mayor will be directly elected by Holmdel residents. Residents will have the power through a petition process to propose a new law or repeal an existing law. That's called initiative and referendum. Initiative being to propose a new law, and referendum to repeal something that the township council has done. And that we should move to nonpartisan elections, similar to the Board of Education elections that we have now. This will eliminate interference and undue influences by outside party bosses. As I mentioned, it was very clear from a lot of the mayors we spoke to, who said they think it would be better to move to nonpartisan elections, and it would remove this outside influence from people outside of town if you had nonpartisan elections. So we took that to heart and moved forward with that recommendation. Now let me explain why we believe these features are important and valuable. So why elect the mayor directly? First, it puts the decision in the hands of the public rather than just at the discretion of 5 council members. It enables the voters to hold someone accountable as the leader of their municipality. And I think people will really want that. In the council choosing or the committee choosing who's to be the mayor, there's often backroom dealing that goes on in deciding who will be the mayor. And it's often influenced by partisan committee people outside of Holmdel. So in many cases, the chairman of the Monmouth County committee may just be deciding who our mayor should be. It's just not appropriate. We think the people of Holmdel should decide who the mayor is going to be. It also eliminates voter confusion. We had several interviewees who mentioned that they knew that voters thought when they were electing a particular candidate to be on the committee, they thought they were electing them to be the mayor. And then they were surprised to find out later that the township committee had chosen another person. And this has happened in the past here in Holmdel. And so if we elect the mayor directly, people will know that they're electing the mayor. And what's the value of initiative and referendum? Initiative and a referendum, as I mentioned, enable the public to petition a ballot question, propose a new ordinance, or decide whether to allow an ordinance to stand. It requires gathering signatures from at least 10% of the number of voters in the last general election. There may be some qualifications about which general election, but roughly there's around 6,000 to 7,000 people who typically vote in Holmdel, so you need to get 600 or 700 signatures on a petition. It's a daunting task. So in practice, it's used sparingly, but it does serve to keep the council accountable to the people and to give the people an outlet for issues that they believe are broadly supported but not getting addressed. I've been to a number of Township Committee meetings where I've heard person after person stand up and say, well, everybody wants this. Why aren't we doing it? And it's sometimes a good question. Now, if you stood up and said that, and you really thought that there was broad support for what you think everybody wants, go get your 600 or 700 signatures, put it on the ballot. And if everybody wants it, then we can move forward with it. And I think the accountability is there with the referendum, that if the council does something that's really untoward or really is not supported by most of the people, then people have a recourse. I thought it was a little dismaying that I understand at the last Township Committee meeting, we actually had one of the committee people say he didn't like initiative and referendum because he didn't think it was fair to be second guessing the committee on some decision that they made. You know, I have to say, I don't follow that reasoning, because I think it's just that keeps the council accountable to the people, which is exactly what we want. And now let me talk on two charts about why we believe nonpartisan elections will serve our town better. First of all, we heard this from almost all the mayors, that there's no Republican or Democratic way or Democrat way to pave a street or remove the snow, or most of the things that go on locally are local issues of taking care of our town. We're not deciding national policy issues here in Holmdel, and that's not the purview of the Township Committee. So having nonpartisan elections where people are just representing the town can serve us better. And the political party affiliation at the local level, it allows partisanship sometimes to get in the way of sound decision-making. It also, as I mentioned, it allows the party bosses outside of Holmdel to have undue influence on deciding who can run for and get elected. And it makes the candidates who are then elected beholden to the party bosses, because they were given the county line, and so they could win in the primary and then get elected. And the reason that typically happens is because most towns in New Jersey, as it turns out, are heavily either Republican or Democrat. And so if you get the county line and you win in the primary, you're almost a shoo-in to win in the general election. So the county line has a very strong influence on who our representatives are. So there is a lot of influence that comes with the partisan election process. And then it leaves these candidates beholden to people outside of Holmdel, which we don't think is good for the town. So then the political bosses outside local town have the sole power to select those individuals to be on the line. They get favored, even over incumbents or better qualified candidates. And as a result, since we're only as good as the candidates that we can elect, the partisan election process actually decreases the pool, because if you don't get the county line, what they say, the Professor Sass mentioned, is you're at a 35% disadvantage to be able to win in a primary if you're not on the county line. So as a result, people generally choose not to run. Those who persist and do run, as I mentioned, often get put out into political Siberia, out in column 6, and it's not even clear that they're on the ballot. So a lot of people just say, it's not worth my time or effort. And so a lot of good candidates don't run, and it's a loss for the town. I think we would get a better pool of candidates if we have nonpartisan elections. Everybody gets put on the ballot in an equal way and people can decide. The other thing I believe that is good about the nonpartisan elections, we actually had one person who spoke in the public who said, well, if we didn't have partisan elections, how would I know who to vote for? I think a good point about nonpartisan elections is you have to find out what the candidates stand for and what they want to do for the town, and then make a decision and find out what they do. Now, there's nothing that stops candidates from stating or promoting their party affiliation. And I certainly expect, and the commission expects, that there will be endorsements by the partisan committees. So we certainly expect that some people will say, I'm endorsed by the Republican Committee of Holmdel, or the Holmdel Republican Committee, or the Democrat Committee, or whatever. And some candidate, there's nothing that keeps these committees from vetting certain candidates and endorsing them and pushing for them. The only thing that happens with the nonpartisan elections is that on the ballot, they cannot show a party affiliation. They can have a byline that says, for a better Holmdel, or whatever they want to put as their byline, but it doesn't show whether they're Democrat or Republican. And Holmdel already holds nonpartisan elections for the Board of Education. So it's not a radical change to move forward with nonpartisan elections. And in fact, I would say, why do we not have partisan elections for Board of Education? I think because everybody is for education, and should not be a partisan issue. I think just like paving the streets and removing the snow, it should not be a partisan issue. We should elect the best candidates to serve our town in the best possible manner. So that was why we recommended that we move forward with nonpartisan elections. You might ask why there are so many of these vote no signs. I think largely it's because these political bosses outside of town are going to lose their influence over the election. And I think they're working very hard to try to defeat this question as a result. Okay, so now all these recommendations that we made will be in the form of a public question. And this is exactly how it reads on the ballot. Some of you may already have gotten your ballot. Shall the council manager plan of the optional municipal charter law, providing for 5 council members, be elected at large for staggered terms at nonpartisan elections held in November, with the mayor elected directly by the voters, be adopted by the Township of Holmdel? So you can see in that question, those are the recommendations that the Charter Commission has put forth. And now it's for you to decide whether you want to move forward with these recommendations or to stick with our current form of government. So if you want more information, you can certainly go to holmdelchartercom.org, and you can download the full report and read the full report, and you'll read about the various interviews we had with all the various people we talked to, both within our township and with these other forms of government, and read, in detail all of our considerations in making the recommendations that we put forth. With that, I thank you for your attention and welcome to answer your questions. And Janet and Jerry will also be happy to help with the questions.
Okay, you can stop sharing your screen and let's get the other people here. Spotlight and Janet, spotlight. Where did you go? And me. Here we all are. Yay, here we are. Okay, questions. We have a nice set of questions. A lot of people have written questions, and you may continue to add questions as we go along here. So thank you, Commission. This is already the first question. For all your hard work. How much influence do you believe county and or state party bosses have on Holmdel nominations, elections, and ultimately over our town?
You want me to take that one?
Okay, yeah, you should take it, Jerry.
Well, there's no way to measure it on a scale of 1 to 10, but based on the evidence and the input we got from people that have studied this for many years, not just at the county level, but from the state level on down. This is not just a county issue. It is New Jersey overall has this ballot design, which is unique. We're the only state in the country, as Zach mentioned, that uses it. And what we found is that, or what we thought was, after we heard all of this, the specific design really is to provide those in power to stay in power. And one of the comments that we did hear, which kind of set me back a little bit, was no legislative incumbent that's run for a re-election in New Jersey has lost an election in the last 50 years that's been on the party line. That can tell you how strong the party line is and the influences that it brings to anybody that gets listed on it. So how does the decision happen to get listed on it? All I was able to gain from our discussions is the decision is made either by a very limited number of people, or in some cases by one person, to allow you to be on the line on the ballot. And in the primary, it almost assures you of a win. So I thought to myself, why even bother having a primary? If you're going to win, just go to the general election in November, because it's pretty much over if you're on the party line. And as Zach also mentioned, the way the ballot design is, your opponent, who is not blessed by the party line, or the very few people who actually endorse the people that are on the party line, they're in political Siberia, meaning there could be column 5 or column 7 on the ballot, and there's empty spaces between these columns, as many of the voters know, and it becomes very confusing. And I think one of the experts said that in some of the counties they examined, almost 30% of the votes were thrown out because people had actually voted for 2 people instead of 1. And if that happens, your vote doesn't count. So why does this persist? Unless it's giving certain individuals the power to make decisions that should be made by the voters, in our view. So being nonpartisan at the municipal level doesn't solve this problem statewide. But something that just occurred that some of you may have read or heard about on the internet or in the papers is a federal judge just permitted a lawsuit to go forward on this very issue against 5 counties, of which I think Monmouth is one of them. And I think one of the primary plaintiffs is the League of Women Voters in New Jersey. And there are multiple plaintiffs on this very issue, that this party line distorts the election process. It allows what we call party bosses in this case, either Democrat or Republican, to control the process and who gets elected in our state and at our municipal level. We're trying to make a fairer system is what we're trying to do. And I think the voters will gain something from this. Political parties can still participate. There's no prohibition against that. During the campaign process, you can, if you're a candidate, you can make a statement as to which political party you're aligned with. The political committees that exist can still come out and campaign for you, as they do now. So people will know which party you're aligned with. There's no question there. But on the ballot itself, everybody will be grouped together in one place. So there's no distinction between somebody on the line and somebody 5 columns over, where where the voters may not know you even exist.
Thank you. So this is kind of following up. Can a person run for both mayor and TC in the same election?
No. The answer is no. But if the person is already on the council and their term is not up and they're not running and they happen to lose running for mayor, they would still remain on the council.
Okay.
But it's a separate, you can't run for both at the same time.
So a person has to choose which one they're going to vote for.
And yes.
Okay. All right. So is it true the mayor will be a paid position with this change? So there have been a number of questions about salary and what can be done about who is going to be paid. So this question is, the mayor will be paid with this change, and how much is this change estimated to cost taxpayers?
All right. That's a very good question. And I know there's been a lot of misinformation put out about this. The mayor in these alternative forms of government, the mayor gets paid generally about the same as we're paying our mayor now. Tinton Falls has a strong mayor. That's a mayor who is the executive of the town. He gets paid $6,001 a year. Not too far off from like the $6,200 that we're paying our mayor in Holmdel. In Marlborough, that's another strong mayor town. They're paying their mayor $4,800 a year. And in fact, that $4,800 a year has been the same $4,800 for like the last 12 or 15 years. So electing your mayor directly does not change, suddenly we're not paying our mayor a huge salary. We pay a good salary to our administrator because the administrator is running the day-to-day operations of the town and is running, a $25 million budget and making sure that everything gets done. So we pay that position significantly and appropriately. The mayor is considered, just like all of our council or committee people, more of a voluntary job, but there is an honorarium or stipend that comes with it of a nominal amount. And there's no reason to expect that to change if we're electing the mayor directly. In none of the towns did a mayor get paid any more than $7,200 in our findings.
Can I just add, I just want to add that the salary is set by the council. So,
Yes.
and all salaries are set by the council. So it's 5 people would decide what the salary of the mayor is and every other salary in the town.
Okay. How will the recommended form of government change the mayor's role in selecting various board members, if at all?
You want to take that, Jane?
You want me to?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, so if this goes through, once it goes through, everybody who is on a board, every elected official will no longer be in office in power. So at the reorganization meeting, all these positions will need to be filled again. In a normal year, any position that's up is filled at the organization meeting. So people who will be elected in November, they can start working on it. So on whatever day in January the reorganization meeting is, the positions will all be filled. Any applications for the zoning board or the planning board, there'll be no disruption in that. Everything usually continues smoothly. This has happened in many towns and there is a smooth transition. The one thing I do want to point out that the current appointment by the mayor of positions on the zoning board and the planning board, mostly now will be done by the council and it will not be mayoral appointments.
Right. So, because there were questions about the confusion of the transition, when the first thing happens, there'll be widespread destruction of government would all be dissipated. And so how
The terms end in December and the new government takes place at the reorganization. Between the time that those people are elected, decisions, they can start planning for the beginning of January. There's not going to be unfilled positions come the reorganization. We spoke to our attorney for the commission about this. And he says normally it just runs very smoothly and appointments are made at the reorganization meeting.
So one of the questions, a little bit follow-up, is how does the new government make the mayor more accountable when we are told the mayor will have no more power than they have today?
I think the mayor being elected directly by the people makes the mayor beholden to those people, and not just to some other 2 or 3 other folks on the township council. Now, the mayor will know that it was because these people voted him or her in that they are now the mayor. And I think that makes them more accountable to the people than just being elected by 3 out of 5 people on a township committee.
There's a number of questions again about money still. Will this new form save Holmdel money, as there will not be a primary and general election every year? not to mention all the signs that get put up around town twice a year.
Well, there's still a primary and there's still a general election. There just will not be a local primary every year. And there will, if it's nonpartisan, there'll be no primary for local, but there'll be all the other candidates that run in the state, there will still be a primary in June. There will be a lot fewer signs and anything associated with a lot of election may cost the town less money, but there will still be a primary and there will still be a general election every year because of the state elections.
There may be less distraction by our town council members, which is what I think Jan was just kind of alluding to, which will make the town run more efficiently, we think, rather than every year, every 2 years, and it will smooth things out a bit. And if it's run more efficiently, there will likely be some cost savings. Let's just put it that way.
There's one really, really long question that I asked people if you'd write your questions shorter, is all I can try to read. So here's a short one. Yeah, I think you touched on this a little bit already, but I don't know if there's anything else. I think, Janet, you were talking about the transition. So are there any transition issues?
There should not be. There is transition every year after an election. There'll be more transition, but at the end of the year, there are new people that come on often. There are people that all the like the green team and all the different, the bike safety commission, all those appointments are yearly made, and they would either be the same people again or new people be appointed, but they're yearly positions for a lot of them. And anything that the zoning board, the planning board, as I said, they will be made, and normally it happens when the new government comes in beginning of January. Some of those positions are reappointed and some are new people come on every year because they're staggered terms on those boards anyway.
There's likely to be continuity on that level, we think, because of ongoing applications between the boards and things of that nature that people have spent time on. I believe there's 71 municipalities that have made this transition already in the state of New Jersey. So there's a process for it.
Okay, so here's a question about the when people are on and then they get off. If successful, in 2022, they elect a mayor and 2 council people for 4 years and 2 for 2 years. Oh, so first of all, how do they decide who's going to be the 2-year folk and who's going to be the 4-year folk?
Draw lots.
By lottery.
Okay, so by lottery. Then these 2 folks run again in 2024, and when the 2-year people win again in 2024 and win a 4-year term ending 2028. And then in 2026, the mayor does not run again. So the 2028 council people decide to run for mayor. So when you're on the council, can you stop to run for mayor? Or are you committed to finishing out your council time?
Well, you would, go ahead, Zach.
No, I was going to say you should answer that because you answered it previously.
Okay, so if you're on the council and you run for mayor, your term is not up, and you become mayor before your term is up, you are now mayor, and that position would be empty.
What if you lose? So
If
you run for mayor and you lose.
You stay on the council.
Oh, okay, so you get to
Do
stay.
not lose your council position if you run for mayor and you still have more years left on your term.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this is again, does a candidate have to decide if they're going to run for both? That's been answered. How many of the were elected? Oh, how many of the mayors interviewed were elected in a nonpartisan election, and how many municipalities in Monmouth County have nonpartisan elections?
Hmm.
I don't have the number.
Numbers.
I did look at a lot. There's some small towns that have, I know Avon, I know Monmouth Beach, because I was looking for some of these. Well, Asbury Park is nonpartisan. They always have been.
Ocean
Uh,
Township.
Ocean. Trying to remember from the ones that we went through.
Thought Tinton Falls was nonpartisan.
I think you're right. I'll look quickly.
Okay, and so there was just a follow up on this empty seat issue is in the current government, how does the empty seat get filled?
I think it's by appointment, but it has to be from one of the political parties, in which case an independent can't be appointed, Jan? I'm not sure.
Well, currently,
Yeah,
if there's an empty seat and a political party, then it's by the political party.
okay.
We have an example now where somebody is off. Kathy Weber resigned. She's not a political party, so that seat is vacant.
Mhm.
So I assume that would be the same. I don't know. That's one of the questions I'll have to confirm, but I assume there would have to be either special election and or the next election. But I will get an answer for that.
Okay, so while you're doing that, so here's a question of another question about the power of the mayor. So, okay, you said currently the mayor has no powers greater than those of the other 4 TC members, except to propose meeting agendas and serve as spokesperson. So if the mayor has so little power under the current and proposed forms of government, then why is it important to directly elect the mayor? And why change the mayor's term from 1 year to 4 years? There are a couple questions about the length of the 4-year term. How is the TC member serving as mayor held any more accountable by direct election of the mayor for 4 years instead of 1 year? So I guess multiple parts there about do you need me to repeat it or you got it?
Well, one thing, it is 1 year, except if you're selected multiple times. So for example, when Mayor DeMassa was mayor, she had 4 consecutive terms as mayor. When Pat Impreveduta was mayor, he had 3 consecutive terms as mayor because he was selected. So it doesn't mean it's always going to rotate under the system that we have currently.
Okay.
And the answer, I think it was Zach who said that the people in town are electing this person, and we would hope that they're electing the best candidate for a 4-year term. This doesn't usually happen, but it could happen. There is a recall process. If somebody is just doing a horrible job, the voters can recall the mayor. It happens very rarely, but if that's a real concern that somebody's doing a terrible job, they can be recalled.
All right, just repeat for me. So I think this is the key part of this question. So if the mayor the argument is that the mayor has little power under the current and proposed, then why is it important to directly elect the mayor?
Well, the mayor doesn't have a lot of power under either types of government. The reason you want to elect them directly is because that's what people in town want. That's what we have been told. They want to decide who the mayor is.
I think what comes with being a mayor, and if I were the voters, I would want somebody that has leadership qualities that maybe not every member of the town council has. Because the mayor is the spokesman for the town. The mayor sets the agenda as they do now. And if there's a problem, I mean, a major problem, they are the leadership that everyone's going to look to get us to where we need to be to solve it. So I think, like I said, to me, the mayor should be someone that stands above a little bit more of the town council in general.
Okay, thank you. So the petition issue, there's a concern that 10% of petitions, 10% of people signatures to petition government is too low. Is there a way to change the number of signatures that are required to participate to petition for initiative or referendum?
I believe that would require a change to the state law.
But the question of whether 10% is too low, it's 10% of the number of people who voted in the last election of the General Assembly. And that was in 2021. And I think it was over 6,600 people voted. So it would be a minimum of 660 people that would have to sign a petition. So that means that people have to go through town and get 660 registered voter signatures before this can even come on the ballot. And then it would have to be voted on, of course.
So as someone who has collected signatures, it's a big number to get that many good ones. Okay. Why is the special election being held on July 26th when the commission pointed out in their final report that November elections are best for maximizing voter turnout? And how many of Holmdel's 14,000 registered voters does the commission expect to actually cast a ballot during the July 26th special election? Tough question. So why is it being held in July?
Why is it being held in July? We had actually a long discussion about this in our deliberations. We believe that this question is too important to be just a sidelight in the November election where we're electing national officials and a lot of other things are on the ballot. And this would just be a little thing off in the corner, and it would lose the immediacy that it has. Right now, I think there are a lot of people in town who are very engaged on this question and very interested in how we move forward. We thought that given we had issued our report, that we have the 60 days, as is required by law before we have this election, that the sooner we do this, we let people in town decide whether they want to move forward while the information is very clear. If we waited another 4 months until November, then people wouldn't remember what this is all about and why is there so much interest and excitement about it. We thought the sooner we do this, the better. And if it's a standalone ballot question, that people will give due consideration to it. How many people will turn out? I think there will be a very healthy turnout on this. I mean, certainly you might notice that the town is getting blanketed with signs. So there's a lot of interest in promoting one side or the other on the question. So I'm expecting a good turnout.
Good. The salary, again, back to the salary of the mayor and the council. Can mayor stated at the last TC meeting that the residents are not satisfied with the salary set, they can change it through initiative and referendum. Why would it? I don't know.
That's under what we're proposing, Karen, not under the current system.
Yeah. So in the current system, you can't do it, right?
Correct.
But under the new system, all right. So if by some chance I felt like the mayor was really working really hard, council was working really hard, I wanted them to make more money. I want to pay more taxes. I get 660 signatures from other people who feel the same way, and we get on the ballot and we start paying our mayor more. Is there any other way the mayor can get paid in the new system? The mayor can get paid more money.
The mayor gets paid according to the salary that's set by the council. And the duties and responsibilities of the mayor under the new form of government will be almost identical to what it is now. So the question that you're asking would be, right now, people would be going to town hall and saying, we don't think the mayor gets enough money, and be screaming about it. I don't see that happening.
All right, opposite side. All right, so if I want them to not be paid any money, and so as a council, the 5 of them are setting their salary, and I don't want them to get more money, then I can petition to do a referendum to change it.
You could.
Or to stop them from increasing it, let's say. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. How do we ensure that our township voter participation is a concern? It keeps popping up here, July and how many people participate. I know you addressed it some, but apparently the Ocean mayor said there was very weak turnout with nonpartisan elections. How do we ensure that our township will encourage voter participation?
I think the Ocean Township mayor they started with May as the general election. And I had asked that question, what kind of voter turnout
What is that
was
be?
it in
Sorry.
May? And he said it was weak, so they changed it to November.
Oh, because of the May.
Yeah.
People aren't paying attention. Okay, so another question on the, will any positions inside our current structure be eliminated?
They can be.
How?
What, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. What,
What positions inside our current structure will be eliminated?
I don't believe there are any in the form of government change. It doesn't imply any change in our current structure. We have the same 5 council members instead of committee members, one of which is the mayor. So none of those positions are eliminated. The town, as it runs with an administrator and a CFO and an assortment of department heads, that as it could change today, if the township committee decided that we don't need these department heads, or we need a new department, they could change it. In the new structure, it doesn't force any elimination or addition of departments or administrators or such. So it's not a change that comes based on any of our recommendations.
Okay, so it would be administrative, how the government was going to operate.
it has to be an ordinance set up. Just like we have an ordinance now that can be changed at any time by the Township Committee. The council will have an ordinance that's required to set up the structure. It'll, follow what's probably been working. There's not going to be a disruption in the way the government is running.
Okay. So this is, there's starting to be some repetition of questions. So guys, you need to be listening because some of these have been answered, i.e., now I'm jumping around here. The ballot question in July instead of November. And Zach, do you have anything else you want to say on that one?
Vote.
Vote, get out and vote. Pay attention to the signs. Yes. Okay, then there's a couple of questions about the term for a mayor versus council members under the proposed form of government, and how would we get rid of bad mayors when they're going to be there for 4? Apparently in the study, you talked to mayors who have been in office 18, 14, 12, and 8 years. So if there's a bad mayor, how do we get rid of the bad mayor? Is there a fast way? Now, just to clarify, as far as I understand, the new positions will all be for 4 years, except for the first time by lottery, they pick. So of the 4 people, one was going to run for mayor. So the person who runs for mayor is 4-year term automatically
Yes.
from the start.
Mhm.
And then the other 4 people draw lots. 2 of them are for 2-year and 2 of them are for 4-year. And so that answers that question. Okay, bad mayor. How would you address the issue of a bad mayor?
Again, the recall process, and which we have now, it's usually not used. But no, having people in town vote for the person that they want, instead of having somebody choose that person, the 5 people choose that person, is more likely to ensure that you're going to have a candidate who becomes mayor, who is a leader and who's going to do a good job. And as I said before, there have been repeated mayors under repeated terms under the Township Committee form of government as well.
Okay, so there seems to be some confusion about the township administrator versus the manager. 2 people, 1 person.
We believe the roles are almost identical in terms of their responsibilities. Although from what we learned, I believe the township administrator role that we have now is based on an ordinance which is designed by the town council, whereas the business manager's role, because it's under the Faulkner Act, is actually based on statute on state law. So the business manager, I don't know whether that makes them a stronger individual or a weaker individual, but that's the way it's based. So, but the roles, from what we could tell, are almost the same. There's
I don't know
no
where that
additional
beeping is. I don't
responsibilities
know.
or changes.
Whose thing is, whose phone, where's that beeping coming from?
It's, there
Maybe.
is, there
Try.
is, okay, we have a township administrator now.
Mhm.
We will no longer have a township administrator. That's our business manager.
Mhm.
And the duties are similar. There is the business manager has more day-to-day authority based on what he or she knows the council policies that the council wants. I don't know if I think we did mention that if the council is not happy with the business manager, it takes a simple majority to get rid of the business manager. Currently, it takes 4 out of 5 votes to get rid of the township administrator. So it's, if that person is not doing a good job, basically the responsibilities, preparing the budget to bring it to the council, day-to-day operations of the different departments, appointment of those people in those departments. Basically, very similar to what the township administrator does.
The only difference is now we're not going to have 2 people. The administrator is going away and the job
There's
is
no
to be
township
taken-
administrator.
Well, actually,
And
right
if
now we
I'm
don't have
not
one.
mistaken, I think the business manager can also be the clerk. I'm pretty sure that's true. I'd have to check that, but
It's only be one person. That's the
it's
issue.
only one person, there's not 2 positions.
All right, here's another question on, this is what you were looking up, Janet, about the municipalities have the same government structure and
Okay.
nonpartisan, and the data from your study, did you, you know what, how about, afterwards you forward that stuff, the information you got from your study to us, and we'll pass it on
Okay.
Okay.
to these people.
The number of towns in Monmouth County that are
Yeah,
council-
that are council manager and nonpartisan and direct elect, and what data from your study can you share with
Okay.
Holmdel residents? Yeah, yeah. So that the data that you gathered, so if you could pass it on and we'll pass it to these people. I don't know if this is, how are we currently influenced by county or state government other than the line? I'm not sure. I don't know. Is that really relevant? How are we currently influenced by county or state government other than the line? It's a nice short question. I think we're influenced by everything we read everywhere.
Probably financially, I would think, from a budget standpoint, we do derive support from both the state and the county, I think, in some ways. So, but not in a political sense. The county line does, as we mentioned earlier, have a lot of power.
This is a funny question. What was the process to get the ballot initiative on the ballot last November? This issue, was it done by referendum? No, it was done by the 5 township committee members who decided to put this on the ballot. I mean, do you guys want to say anything else about it? So
There are 2
that was-
procedures. It could have been by petition or by the township committee doing it.
yeah,
And it
so-
went on by the township committee.
Yeah, so they did it.
Mhm.
Okay, we've answered about mayor accountability already. Power to the voters. They're being elected for 4 and 2-year terms. You did a study. The information from the study is going to come to people. Again, how many New Jersey, another question about the study, they want to see how many municipalities have done these exact things, the council manager, nonpartisan, direct election. So we are going to gather these names of people because it's kind of probably too much to say right here, but these guys will give it to us and Celia will pass it on to people.
I can tell you council manager.
Okay.
I have a list of council manager. Aberdeen, Asbury Park. In Monmouth County, is that what we're looking at?
New Jersey, the whole state.
Oh, New Jersey, how many
Yeah.
council manager?
Mhm.
Okay, you can go on another question, I'll count. 'cause I have a whole
Okay.
list. Okay,
Oh, this is a new question. How will candidates' positions on the ballot be determined under the new council manager form of government?
Positions on the ballot? Can you
Yeah, how do they get the
elaborate on
spot?
that?
I will say this, when I ran for the Board of Education, it was nonpartisan and they had a meeting of all of us and we drew lots. I mean, we definitely, they had pieces of paper and we pulled them. And the shortest person got, then they were in order on the ballot that way. Is there anything by statute about how people get on the ballot in this?
It's the same way.
The same way, yeah.
The same way. I just counted 38. I don't know if my list is up to date. Some of the ones that are council manager, like I said, Aberdeen. I'm looking at some that are similar to what Holmdel is like, maybe in different counties. Cedar Grove, which is similarly educationally, socioeconomically.
Mountain Lakes
Livingston,
up in northern New Jersey is similar.
Livingston, Montclair, Mountain Lakes, Ridgewood, Sparta. Similar size, a little bigger, a little smaller. And then there were a number of nonpartisan ones. Mawa, Montclair, South Orange, West Windsor, Ridgewood, Avon, Bradley Beach, Monmouth Beach are all nonpartisan.
Okay. So this is not a new idea out of the blue. There are a lot of people doing it, but also, we don't have to always follow the crowd either.
Well, it's newer in the sense that being able to do this hasn't been in effect for that long. So each year, if there are more and more towns that are coming over to this more modern form of government.
Interesting. If a council member runs for mayor, okay. This is a process thing again. If a council member runs for mayor and then wins, is then they're going to have to be a special election to replace them, but they wouldn't do it if there wasn't going to be other people running, right? Well, anyway, I shouldn't be answering the question. If a council member runs for mayor and wins, then would there be a special election to replace them?
I don't know if they would be taken from the next person on the list of council. I have to find out from our attorney because I don't know what the process is. But let's say there were 2 seats up and the mayor was running, but was also on the council. If 4 people were running, I don't know if that next person would take that place. I need that. That's what I need to find out because I don't know.
But there would already be, does the mayor run when there are 3 running or 2 running, right? It's because it's every 2 years. So 1 2-year period, 3 people run, and the next 2-year period, 2 people run.
Two.
So, 3 people, then 2 people, then 3 people, then 2 people. So the person runs for mayor. There would be other people, and if it runs for mayor and wins.
But he's on the, but
He's one of the 2 people. He's one of the 2, and then he goes over and tries to run for mayor. Oh, I see. Okay, I understand the question now. And you're going to find out what happens
If
to that.
he's
Yes, we'll
on
get
and
back
his
to you.
term is not up,
Yes, that's the
he
question.
becomes mayor. Does somebody who was running for council and lost, does that person take the spot?
Yeah.
I-
Interesting question. Okay.
We'll find out.
Here's what is required to successfully recall the mayor. We already know that. You have to do a petition. You have to get 660 signatures. You get around and gets on the ballot and you get rid of that mayor you don't like. We have how many municipalities have the structure of government. You've just answered that one. Okay, no, the other issue is, of course, the placement of this issue. This is a process question about, I'm not going to say this. The charter study did not have to get signatures to get on the ballot because the Township Committee put it on the ballot. I mean, there was no initiative in referendum for the Charter Study Commission. The 5 Township Committee members that were there, that were elected at that time, decided to put this on the ballot. So, that is why. So there's some stuff here that's not true, but that is the Township Committee. So put this on the ballot. No new paid positions, no different. Are there limitations to what petitions a resident can propose in a new law? Are there limits to initiatives?
It can't be something that is not allowed by state law or federal law or by town law. If there's something, unless you're doing referendum, then you'd be trying to get rid of that law.
Yeah. It's kind of
But
interesting.
it cannot be in conflict with state or federal law.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, this summer question again. Some people don't feel like they're being answered in how many other districts have council manager, nonpartisan, directly elected mayors.
We just answered that, didn't we?
I'll read them all, but there are 38 of them that
38 of them.
I
Okay.
across the state of New Jersey. There are also, besides the council manager, there are probably an equal number of mayor council, which is a stronger mayor type government, different from the township government that we have now. Gives much more power to the mayor. It was something we could have considered, but we did not.
Oh, we
So
considered it
there's
and
probably-
rejected.
Right.
Jen, you can probably send that list to Karen and she can post it on CELU's website. Is that?
Oh, yeah,
doable?
I'll just send it out. So it's
Yeah.
the council manager, question about how many have council manager, how many are nonpartisan, and how many directly elect the mayor?
In the whole state or in,
I'm assuming on the whole state. Yeah. whole state.
Karen, I think the question being asked is what townships or towns have that exact combination
Oh, have that combination of those three? Oh,
together?
Okay.
combination of three.
Nonpartisan, elect the mayor directly, and a council manager.
Oh, okay.
What we're proposing, basically, they want to know what other.
They wanna
towns have it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
I did not understand the question. Thank you, Regina. Okay. What would have been different if CELU had had initiative and referendum powers when we tried to preserve the Chase Tract?
Would have saved 4 years. I mean, it was a long battle and they ended up going to sending out a study and or for people to fill out and decide what they wanted. It was a 70%, I think, that wanted it to be preserved. It could have been done a lot easier. It was going to be done by 5 people. The Chase Tract was going to be developed by 5 people. And if people had, had a petition going and put it on the ballot, it would have been saved a lot sooner, a lot less work. There were a lot of things that had to go into that property, sewers. There were so many things that to make that property developed that could have been on an initiative.
Okay, 60 questions. Thank you, Regina. That was the right question. How many have all 3? And you guys are going to get back to us on that one.
Yes.
I am so impressed with you guys.
So there were 2 questions. The one about what happens to a vacancy and how many and what towns.
Yes, what happens to a vacancy when that 2-person decided to go over to the 3-person one? And then what towns in New Jersey have all 3 conditions that we're asking about?
Okay.
And I think that is it. Audience, thank you guys so much for being here and listening to this. Regina's going to finish this up, but thank you guys very, very much.
You're welcome, Karen. Thank
Our
you.
pleasure.
Oh,
Thank
wait,
you.
Thank you for having us.
and I also should say, there were a number of people that I crossed over who said, thank you. Well, there's one last question here.
Okay.
Okay, well, this is a question I myself answered, but if you guys want to answer it again. No, I'm not. You said this charter study was created and it's 5 commissions selected No, they were voted on by the voters. They weren't selected in any way,
Right.
shape, or form.
Right.
The 5 of them went around and got petitions signed to get on the ballot for themselves. Anybody in town could have done it.
Yes.
Anybody in town could have done that.
Yes.
The opportunity to create the Charter Study Commission. Now, this person is saying that Township Committee people signed petitions to create the Charter Study. But that's not the case.
Not that we're aware of, no. They
Yeah.
passed an ordinance,
They passed an ordinance to put this on the ballot
right? They voted on it and passed an ordinance in August.
in August. Yes,
Last
they
August.
introduced it in July and they passed it in August by 4-1.
So
Right.
if you're unhappy about the fact that there's a Charter Study Commission, it is the current Township Committee people who put it on the ballot. And of course, the majority of people in the community voted yes, we want to study our government. And then they voted yes for the 5 people that were there. Now, there are a number of thank yous, and especially to you guys for all your time. So the questions are over, and
Can
yes,
I just say one last comment
You may
related to what
totally.
okay.
yes.
We have given options for what we think is best for the town. They may be different options from what other towns have done. This is not something that is necessarily forever. When you change to a Faulkner type of government, the different options can be changed after 4 years. So if it really was determined that people don't like to elect their mayor, it can go back to being selected by the township itself. You can't get rid of an initiative and referendum, but the other options can be changed back.
Including nonpartisan, right, Jan?
Yes, they can
Yes.
both be changed back, but
It would have to be a ballot
In
question. I
less
guess.
than
It would
10,
have to
in
be a
less than 10
referendum.
years?
it would have to be a referendum.
Yes, in less than 10 years.
4 years. 4 years is the minimum amount of time.
Yeah, so there
So
is
this is what-
flexibility in what's happening.
Right,
It's not
and
written in
it-
stone, yeah.
And some towns may have this type of government and have gone from partisan to nonpartisan. Some of the people that we spoke with who have a partisan government have actually said, it's pretty divisive now. I kind of think maybe it'd be better to have nonpartisan. Whether they're going to change it, I don't know, but that is something that is on people's minds
And that they could put on the ballot.
that they
Mhm.
can put on the ballot in 4 years.
Probably, so you guys are being so good and patient, but Julie, did I miss any questions?
Karen, I think you were very thorough. I've been reading right along with you all. 64 is it now? And I was ticking them off. I think you were able to consolidate them all. And I think we answered everyone's questions. And if someone feels like there's a question still pending, perhaps they could write us and we can get the answer for them. But
Yes.
I do feel all the questions in the Q&A were answered tonight.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay, thank you guys again.
Thank you. Thank you
going
for
to-
giving us the time.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
thank you very
Thank you
much.
for all the time you spent on this thing for us. That's just, it's just a wonderful gift that you gave to the community of your time. And
Yes.
we appreciate
Great.
it.
We'll see you all at the polls. That's where we should be on July 26th, please.
Yes, or Regina is going to tell you what happens if you're going on a holiday in the summer. So Regina, you are up.
I'd like to thank all of you. It was very informative and you had a lot of patience going through all the questions. And I want to thank everyone for attending. It's important that you keep yourself informed. This meeting was recorded. It will be online in a few days. If you go on our YouTube channel, you have to search for CILU Holmdel and you should be able to find it. So I'd like to give you a little information about voting. Election day, as everyone said, is Tuesday, July 26th. If you usually vote by mail, you should have gotten your ballot in the mail already. If you haven't, there are 2 things that you can do. You can call the Monmouth County Board of Elections. Their number is 732-431-7790. They're very helpful. They'll be able to answer all your questions. The other thing you can do is go on their website, monmouthcountyvotes.com. That's monmouthcountyvotes.com. Look at the tab under called voter information, and you should be able to find how to get an absentee ballot application. You need to get an application, send it in, and then you'll get the ballot. The deadline to vote by mail is 7/19, which is 1 week before the election. We do recommend that you do it much earlier with all the problems we have with the mail. It's the sooner you get it in, the better. Once you get your vote by mail ballot, follow the directions. It's pretty easy to do, but if you do anything wrong, if you miss a signature or whatever, your vote may be invalidated. So just follow the directions carefully. Then you can either mail it, again, mail it as early as you can. They must be received, they must be postmarked by the date of the election, July 26th. Another thing you can do is put it in a ballot drop box. We have one at the Holmdel Community Center. There's also a ballot drop box in Freehold at the Board of Elections. That's 300 Halls Mill Road in Freehold. The third thing you can do is hand deliver it. If you're going all the way down to Freehold to put it in the drop box, you might as well walk in the side entrance and you can hand deliver it. So to get your ballot counted, you can either put it in the mail, put it in a ballot drop box, or hand deliver to the Board of Elections. There may be in-person voting. People at the Board of Elections weren't sure. Things haven't been finalized yet, so check in the coming weeks and it should be on the website. Or you can vote the traditional way on election day, which on this election day, which will be July 26th. You go to your regular polling station and the polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on July 26th. So that's everything about voting. I do want to put in a plug for CELU's upcoming events. We are going to have a sunset boat cruise on Sunday, July 17th. That will take place at 7 to 9 p.m. We're told that that's the best time to view the marine life. They're the most active, so that'll be kind of interesting. It will be aboard the Navison Queen paddle wheel boat. We're hosting it along with Save Coastal Wildlife. It's $41 per person, and a portion of that will go to that organization, Save Coastal Wildlife. There won't be any meeting in August. I think we all need a break. In September, we'll have our annual picnic on Saturday, September 10th at Phillips Park at 3 p.m. And look for our candidate forum in October. We don't have a date decided yet. We're waiting to see who the candidates are and confirm their schedules. So that's it for our upcoming events. If you'd like more information about the events, you can visit us on Facebook, Citizens for Informed Land Use CILU, or go to our website, www.holmdel-cilu.org. We don't have the information about the upcoming events on the front page yet. If you click on the date on the calendar, you'll get all the information you need. So if you enjoyed this presentation and are interested in our work, consider joining us. We'd love to have you. Dues are $20 per person or $40 for a family. And I love to say they have not gone up in 23 years. Maybe it's time for a raise. But no matter where you live in Holmdel, there's a good chance that the work CELU volunteers have done for the past 23 years to protect our watershed, preserve our open spaces and natural resources, and advocate for an open and transparent government has had a positive impact on your life and your quality of life in Holmdel. We will continue to do this important work, and we encourage you to become a part of it. So thank you again, speakers, for all your time and dedication to this important topic. And thank you to everyone for attending. Good night.
Good night.